Lesson 55 is on solving two-step word problems. Now, a word problem is like a story problem, and they're also kind of like finding information problems like we did in Lesson 54. You have to find out particular information to help you think about how to solve that problem anytime you do a word problem or a story problem. Now, we've done story problems like equal group story problems, larger, smaller difference story problems, and some went away story problems. These will basically have two story problems combined in the same problem. And so you have to read the problem just like you do on the story problems. Read it through first and then go back and pick out the certain parts that you need to help you solve that problem. And one thing that's different than a finding information problem like in Lesson 54, the difference between those and word problems is usually a word problem you change the words into a math problem, whereas in a finding information problem you're maybe just finding one particular number or maybe just a simple math operation. Let's go ahead and do a couple of practice problems here. Now, always on a word problem, it's important to read it through first. Let's go ahead and do that. The stadium holds 25,000 people. If 15,000 tickets have been sold this week and there are 3,000 season ticket holders, how many tickets are still available? Okay, well, let's just think about this. We're trying to find how many tickets are still available. The stadium holds 25,000 people, so let's just write down that value. Now, this week 15,000 tickets have been sold, so let's subtract from 25,000, let's subtract 15,000. And then we'll see that we have 10,000 tickets left. Okay, but there are 3,000 season ticket holders, and if you don't know what a season ticket holder is, that's somebody who would maybe buy their tickets. They buy a ticket for a certain seat for the entire year, and they did that at the beginning of the season. And so those are tickets that weren't sold this week. Those were previously sold. So there's 3,000 of those as well. And so we need to subtract from 10,000 then, we need to subtract 3,000. And so let's go ahead and do that. And so that would give us 7,000. And see, basically we had two larger, smaller difference stories within that one word problem. And so we could write 7,000 tickets. That's how many are still available. 7,000 are still available. Make sure that you answer the question that was asked for that particular problem. Let's go ahead and do one more of these. Practice problem B. Again, let's read it through first. Cullen made $35 and Mason made $25. They decided to divide their pay evenly by adding their earnings and then dividing the total equally. How much did they each receive? Okay, well, just think about this. We're doing two-step problems here, so let's think of two story problems that are combined here. Okay, well, you have like a sum and some more problem, right? Because they added their earnings together. You had sum, $35, and then you added some more to that, $25, to get a total. And then they divided the total equally, so that's an equal group story. And so let's do the sum and some more story. And so we have 35 and 25. And so we'd have 5 plus 5 is 10, and then $60. So when they add the two amounts together, you get $60. Okay, so now they divide their total amount equally. We need to break that 60 into two equal groups. Now there's different ways you could do this. You could think of like what we did in Lesson 50, where we had maybe make two boxes and you had a total of 60. Half of it would go in one and half in the other, since we're making two groups here. So you'd have 30 in each group. You could use your division algorithm, and you're dividing 60 into two equal groups. So you'd put a 2 out here, 60 here. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 0 0 times. And so you'd have value of 30. And so either way, it doesn't really matter how you figured out the answer there. You just need to know that it was an equal group. The second story in this word problem was an equal group story. And so that's how much they would both get if they divided their total equally. Is $30 apiece. Always on word problems, read them through first. Think to yourself, what are they asking here? Like this problem, they were asking how much did they each receive. So you're trying to get to that answer, and you have to figure out how you're going to get to that answer. What information do you need to help you figure out that answer? What are you going to do with the information that they gave you in the problem to help you figure that answer out? Think of questions like that when you're doing word problems. Okay, well that's all for lesson 55.